From the weirdest enemy in all of anime to perhaps the strongest enemy Luffy will ever face, these are all of Luffy's enemies and where they are now. Let's start with none other than Alvida, a horrendously obese and ugly pirate who wielded an iconic iron mace designed to bash any foes that came her way. Alvida saw a lot of success with this mace. That is until she came face to face with Luffy and found that his rubber abilities made him completely immune to her attacks. After this humiliating defeat, Alvida would actually go on to partner up with Buggy and become one of the 2 captains of the Buggy and Alvida alliance. It is also at this time that Alvida would eat the slip fruit, which would turn her into a beautiful woman, much unlike her previous form. Alvida would continue to be a problem for Luffy until she would eventually ally with Buggy's pirate dispatch company. Speaking of Buggy, he was Luffy's first major villain, and he was also the first enemy Luffy made that also had devil fruit powers. Buggy the clown pirate terrorized Orange Town and stole from hundreds of people, amassing an immense treasure hoard. This hoard is what would attract Nami's attention. Buggy would prove to be a challenging fight for Luffy since he could detach his body parts at will to avoid all of Luffy's attacks. After his defeat to Luffy in Orange Town, Buggy would be completely scattered, with him losing limbs and his crew all throughout the East Blue. Eventually, he would find his crew and vow to defeat the man who defeated them in the first place. This would lead into his alliance with Alvida to take down the Straw Hat Pirates. Shortly after defeating a pirate wielding the power of a devil fruit, Luffy would be able to defeat any threat he faced. Moving on to Captain Kuro. In order to protect Usopp and Kaya, Luffy is forced to take on Kuro himself after Kuro brutally defends every attack that comes his way. Kuro and Luffy have a very intense battle. Luffy manages to defeat him by hitting him with a devastating headbutt, which knocks him out. Luffy then threw Kuro at the Black Hat Pirates and they just sailed away. Kuro went back to his old crew and became their captain once again. His current whereabouts is unknown, however the Marines know that he is still alive as they've reactivated his bounty. Now, Kuro may have been a notorious pirate, but our next villain had a 50-fleet ship and as a result became one of the most feared pirates in the East Blue. Don Krieg sailed a bit too close to the sun after entering the Grand Line, as his crew would be completely decimated by Dracula Mihawk. This bitter defeat prompted Krieg to return to the East Blue, where he found the Barati pirate ship. However, this greed would eventually lead to Don Krieg's defeat. Don Krieg's attempt to take over the Barati was met with an immense amount of resistance. Don Krieg's initial plan to easily take the ship proving challenging during his fight with Luffy. Eventually, Luffy would defeat and knock Krieg unconscious, and Jin would take Krieg with him on the Barati. Don Krieg is still alive, but his whereabouts are currently unknown. Don Krieg may have called himself the most powerful pirate in the East Blue. However, the pirate with the highest bounty was none other than our next enemy. Arlong was the captain of an all-fishman crew known as the Arlong Pirates. He was a former member of the Sun Pirates and would be one of the main inspirations for the new Fishman Pirates. When we first meet Arlong, he has taken over Nami's village, holding her village captive to manipulate her into stealing treasure for him. When Luffy arrived to take on Arlong, their fight was an immensely close one, with Arlong capable of brushing off attacks from Zoro and Luffy. After Luffy was able to defeat Arlong, the Fishman would be arrested by the Marines, and his whereabouts are unknown to this day. Although fans theorize that because we didn't see him in Impel Down, Arlong may be in Marijoa, meaning we will see him once again very soon. Smoker is first introduced in Logtown, a Marine officer with a deep-rooted hatred for pirates. Smoker would eventually find Luffy as he was about to be executed by Buggy and Alvida before Luffy was saved by a freak lightning strike and escaped the gallows. Smoker chased after Luffy following his escape, and they would eventually go toe-to-toe, with Luffy initially struggling against Smoker before barely coming out on top. Just as Smoker was about to defeat Luffy, he was stopped by a cloaked man, which we would know to be Dragon. Smoker actually went on to join a group known as G5, who are outlaw Marines who hunt down and kill pirates, eventually working his way up the ranks to become the leader of this band of mercenaries. Wapol is the former king of the Drum Kingdom. Wapol was forced to become a pirate after he fled from his country following an attack by Blackbeard. While returning to Drum, Wapol found the Going Merry and decided to board the ship. They held the Straw Hats up at gunpoint while they searched the ship, and after he left, he made his way to Drum and re-established himself as the leader. Luffy and Wapol's battle was intense in Drum, with Wapol using every ability in his arsenal to try and defeat Luffy. However, he was unsuccessful, and Luffy sent him flying far away away from Drum. He appears in the Sky Island saga, where he accidentally makes a new type of metal called Wapol metal, which immediately increases his fame throughout the entire seas. During the time skip, Wapol's success let him become the ruler of a new kingdom called the Black Drum Kingdom. However, Wapol's fate is nowhere near as bad as our next pirate. Crocodile was a very powerful and cunning villain long before Luffy even came along, and is even the first villain to properly defeat Luffy. Before Luffy found Crocodile, he was a warlord of the sea, secretly running an organization designed to overthrow Alabasta via Operation Utopia. However, his plans would eventually be foiled when he encountered the Straw Hat Pirates. He was defeated by Luffy and was imprisoned within the legendary prison of Impel Down. But this is not where his story would end, as he would be freed by none other than Luffy in exchange for help rescuing his brother. Crocodile would ally with Luffy and the Whitebeard Pirates in a fight against the Marines before leaving for the New World. However, he would one day return and establish the Cross Guild alongside Mihawk. Bellamy is the former captain of the Bellamy Pirates and was a member of the Don Quixote Pirates during the Dressrosa arc. Luffy and Bellamy first met when Luffy landed in Jaya. Bellamy was enamored by the bounty on Luffy's head and knew that he had to try and get it, which would obviously lead to a fight. And their fight was pretty interesting. It mainly showcased the show-offish nature of Bellamy, and this would eventually be his downfall, as Luffy would knock him down with a single punch. Luffy and Bellamy's relationship in the Dressrosa saga would be very different to the Sky Island saga, with them actually somewhat becoming allies since Luffy had actually spared his life. Bellamy would then retire from piracy, but not before taking a piece of Luffy's Vivera card in case he ever needed it. Maybe one day Bellamy will come back. Enel was a powerful foe for Luffy. He had the ability to wield lightning via his Thunder Fruit. He was able to claim rulership over Skypiea using fear in an iron fist. His arrogance would cause problems for him when he came face to face with Luffy, as his lightning powers were completely useless against Luffy's rubber body. Enel was defeated by Luffy, and he decided that he would instead go and rule the moon, trying to uncover its mysteries and further his ambitions in space. His ambitions were grand, but his powers were not good enough to get there, that's for certain. However, our next villain would be a real problem for the Straw Hats. Rob Lucci, a ruthlessly efficient agent of the world government and a formidable member of the notorious Cypher Pole 9. With his sleek, panther-like appearance and unparalleled mastery of the Rokushiki martial arts, Lucci was a force to be reckoned with. Despite his formidable abilities, though, Lucci would ultimately meet his match in Monkey D. Luffy's unyielding determination, as the Straw Hat Captain pushed himself to the brink of collapse to defeat this formidable assassin and save his crewmate. Rob Lucci would continue to appear time and time again and would continue to be a powerful foe for the Straw Hats. His current whereabouts are unknown, and it seems a lot like Luffy's villains just vanish without a trace. But the same cannot be said with our next foe here, as they have a very sad ending. Monkey D. Garp, a towering figure in the world of One Piece, known far and wide as Garp the Fist, was a powerhouse of the Marines and a true beacon of justice. With his massive frame and boundless strength, Garp struck fear into the hearts of pirates and wrongdoers alike. After he met his grandson, Garp grappled with conflicting loyalties, torn between his allegiance to justice and his paternal bond with Luffy. Garp would appear multiple times throughout the show, but his dedication to the Marines never once wavered, and he Gecko Moria, a villain whose presence sends shivers down the spines of those who cross his path. As the captain of the Thriller Bark Pirates and a former warlord of the sea, Moria wielded the power of the Shadow Fruit, allowing him to control shadows and create an army of undead warriors. Moria's thirst for power led him to seek the ultimate prize, immortality. To achieve this goal, he embarked on a quest to gather an army of shadows, stealing the life force of countless souls in his journey for immortality. However, his ambitions would ultimately be no match for Monkey D. Luffy and his crew, who braved the horrors of Thriller Bark to confront Moria and put an end to his reign of terror. Despite his defeat, Moria's legacy as a master of darkness would continue to cast a long shadow over the sea, serving as a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked ambition. Gecko Moria was certainly a terrifying foe for Luffy. However, this next foe is potentially the most well-known One Piece villain in history, Marshall D. Teach, better known as Blackbeard, a figure whose very name strikes fear into the hearts of both pirates and marines alike. Born amidst the chaos of the Grand Line, Blackbeard's journey to infamy is steeped in mystery and darkness. It was Blackbeard's audacious betrayal of Whitebeard, his former captain and father figure, that truly catapulted him into the spotlight. With the stolen power of the Darkness fruit and the Quake fruit, Blackbeard ascended to the rank of Yonko, becoming one of the most feared and influential pirates in the world. His crew, the Blackbeard pirates, grew in strength and infamy, wreaking havoc across the seas as they pursued their own twisted vision of freedom. Yet Blackbeard's ambitions extended far beyond mere piracy, with his sights set on the fabled One Piece and title of Pirate King. However, Blackbeard's ascent to power was not without its challenges. He clashed with the Marines led by figures like Admiral Akainu and faced fierce opposition from rival pirates including Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hats. Despite these obstacles, Blackbeard's cunning and ruthlessness allowed him to emerge victorious time and time again, leaving but a trail of destruction in his wake. Blackbeard continues to leave a legacy on the seas as being one of the most ferocious villains of all time. Hody Jones, a vengeful antagonist in the world of One Piece, leader of the new Fishman pirates and a former slave of Fishman Island, Hody's resentment towards humans burns fiercely, fueling his desire for revenge. Hody designed a plot to overthrow the royal family of Fishman Island and plunge the island into total chaos. With his enhanced Fishman strength and relentless determination, he posed a formidable threat to anyone who stood in his way. That's including Monkey D. Luffy and his crew. But in the end, Hody's blind hatred and lust for vengeance proved to be his undoing, as he was ultimately defeated by Luffy in the combined efforts of the island's inhabitants, bringing an end to his reign of terror, which certainly never happened to our next villain, Don Quixote Doflamingo, one of the most charismatic antagonists in the world of One Piece, a man who formerly held the title of a warlord of the sea and king of Dressrosa under a tyrannical regime. Known for his manipulative and ruthless nature, Doflamingo wielded the power of the string fruit, which allowed him to control people like puppets and slash his enemies up with razor-sharp strings. Don Quixote's downfall came at the hands of Monkey D. Luffy himself and the Straw Hat Pirates, along with their allies, which led to his defeat and subsequent imprisonment. He is currently serving his sentence in the most secure level of Impel Down. However, he is still connected to the underworld, so maybe one day he'll break out of Impel Down and make his grand return. Charlotte Linlin, better known as Big Mom, stands as one of the most formidable pirates in the One Piece universe, ruling over Totoland as both its queen and the captain of the Big Mom Pirates. Her infamy is not just due to her immense physical strength, but also her soul fruit power, which allows her to manipulate souls, granting her the ability to create and control homies, objects infused with human souls. However, she always seemed to be defeated by the Straw Hat Pirates in the various times she appears throughout the show's lifetime. Following her various clashes with the Straw Hat Pirates and involvement in several major story arcs, her current whereabouts and activities continue to impact the world of One Piece significantly, keeping her at the forefront of the series' ever-evolving narrative. Known as the strongest creature in the world, Kaido's life has been a tumultuous journey of battles, attempts at self-destruction, and an insatiable desire for chaos, aiming to start the greatest war the world has ever seen. His battle with the Straw Hat Pirates, especially Luffy, is one of legend. It unfolded on the rooftop of Onigashima, where he showcased the might of a Yonko against the newfound powers and unbreakable spirit of Luffy and his allies. Not only the rooftop, mind you, like it was the rooftop, it was the entire island of Wano. This confrontation was a clash of ideals, with Kaido's vision of a world engulfed in war challenged with the Straw Hats' quest for freedom and justice, and also food. This battle changed things massively for Luffy, as he was now a genuine contender to become the Pirate King. Kaido's whereabouts are currently unknown.